afternoon.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The White Cloaks. If you're returning here, thank you for your continued support. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it. And if you're new here, I hope you enjoy this video. Consider liking, subscribing, sharing. Helps our community grow. We'll expand our content. Speaking of, you can check out Jane Bornhald's reread streams about the Eye of the World, found at the link above. For a full spoilers deep dive into the books, or you can check out some of the character and lore content, like the one from Alex Green discussing the Forsaken Ishamael, also above.
Shameless.
Returning viewers might notice that I'm not in my usual studio. In fact, I'm not in any studio. I'm in a bunker. This bunker, actually. I'm sheltering here as we approach Season 2 of Amazon's Wheel of Prime. The approved shills are leaking, shots are inbound, and if you're a fan of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, take cover and wait for the all clear. But if you're a masochist, or just too cat-like to look away, I fear you're in for a rough one. At least make sure you take the appropriate precautions.
To alcohol!
It has come to my attention that there are a lot of misunderstandings circulating on other channels and other discords about what exactly the complaints are that the White Cloaks have about the show.
Got the script for Series 1 right here.
Dude, that thing looks kind of real almost.
But today I'm going to lay out just one of our complaints with the show and point out how it isn't just mindless book purist zealotry, and it definitely isn't any sort of bigotry or hate, which we condemn entirely.
You ignorant ass bitches, critics, complainers, disgruntled rappers, and racists especially.
It's actually pretty simple. We think Amazon made major and unnecessary changes that have actively made the story and characters worse.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
But hey, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? So I'm actually going to start with some praise. Sorry, fellow White Cloaks.
Now repeat after me. Goose fraba. Goose fraba. How do you feel? Better.
Rosamund Pike's portrayal of Moiraine deserves actually some recognition. Her casting aligns pretty well with the character descriptions in canon and in the art, including long-standing and accepted fan art alike. And when the script lets her be a closed-mouthed and mysterious Aes Sedai, she pulls it off. And her Aes Sedai composure is usually pretty good, with an unfortunate number of notable exceptions. Honestly, Pike was doing her best and with probably the strongest performance of the season. Moiraine is a compelling character in the books, and Pike's performance could have been a real standout had a stronger script that adhered more closely to the source material and the actual character of Moiraine been provided to her. So, that was the good about Rosamund Pike. I know, not a lot. But, before I get going into the bad, let's first dispel the idea that this is just hating on a
strong female character.
The series is full of them. I have loved them and the series and those characters for more than 2 decades. I completely wanted to see her as the wise, mysterious badass that Robert Jordan wrote her to be. She represents the absolute best of the Aes Sedai in a series, and every other Aes Sedai is left wanting in the comparison. I wanted to see a performance that delivered on the promises made in the series of an Aes Sedai at the absolute peak of her power. So what is my problem with Moiraine in the show? It's funny you should ask.
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
In the books, Moiraine was wise, mysterious, a little bit of a schemer.
They're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
And it was clear to the reader and the characters that her purposes were not always what they might seem, by proving the old adage that the truth you hear from an Aes Sedai is not always the truth that you think it is. However, while Moiraine is definitely a strong character in her own right, her role as a character is largely overshadowed by her role as a narrative device. From the beginning, she was the quest giver, agent of fate, and a vehicle for the author to give lore drops, execute world building. And Robert Jordan was not exactly being subtle or hiding the lead in here. Her name, Moiraine, is literally the Greek word for fate, Mora, and Rand's doubts about her motives and his push and pull relationship with her is just harkening back to the classic Greek narratives of a hero or character struggling against the idea or notion of being a pawn of these fates. Struggling against fate is literally one of the most central themes of the story.
The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Her series-defining role is to be a foil of sorts for the main characters. I mean, the only time she's a totally independent actor in the main series is during the events before the Eye of the World takes place and during the Great Hunt. Robert Jordan largely chooses to not even tell us this story, apart from the uncharacteristically short prequel and a brief, albeit excellent, chapter about her and Lan in Arafel. To put it simply, she's just not the protagonist during the events of the main series.
The time of the elves is over. My people are leaving these shores.
She was a great character. She was wise, she was powerful, she was vitally important to the story and to the development of the other characters around her. She plays an important role as a mentor and a teacher, albeit with a recalcitrant student, and she tries to show Rand the way to navigate the world and politics with varying levels of success. But she is defined more by the simple nature of her relationship with the main characters and with Rand al'Thor in particular. She is an implicit reminder of who he was and how far he's progressed and changed, not always for the better. Maybe not even usually for the better. Sorry, Rand, you kind of went crazy. This is what her return at the end of the series signifies, and if you take away her role throughout the series, the return at the end of the series loses the weight and importance that it has.
And I come back to you now, at the turn of the tide.
She comes in, and her mere presence brings Rand back down to earth from literally being a walking incarnation of the creator's sort of will and power executed on earth. Well, whatever we want to call Randland these days, I suppose.
Moiraine, Sedai.
What can I say about Amazon's? Well, to start with, Amazon's Wheel of Prime is the Moiraine story. She is the active protagonist, not a supporting cast member. She's the one who's on a quest and has plans, struggles, challenges, while the other characters largely revolve around her. Even the idea for the confrontation with the Eye of the World, the climax of the first book in the series, is turned into a design by Moiraine and Swan, aided by subtle and complex political maneuvers.
On your knees.
It is another example of the agency being stolen from the actual main characters of the series. I'm not just talking about the boys. Egwene was also involved in this. In the book, it was Rand, Mat, Perrin, and Egwene, corroborated by a story from Loyal, who give this quest to the Eye of the World to Moiraine via a web of mutually supported rumors, which she uses her wisdom and knowledge to decipher. But in the show, we again see a demonstration of her transition from this passive character who's swept up in this swirling pattern of histories, the events, and the fact that she is traveling with the strongest Taviran ever, into an active character who is, instead of being dragged along by the course of events, is propelling the events and dragging the main character along with her. Hell, at this point, she is more Taviran on screen than any of the 4 Taviran.
There are rumors of 4 Taviran there.
Regrettably, the show simplifies Moiraine's character, resulting in inconsistencies and decisions that frankly defy logic. Her actions often contradict her established traits, making her character feel less genuine and relatable.
Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare.
And all sorts of nonsensical fluff has been added to a story that was already going to have to make very deep cuts to fit the studio authorized episode count. For example, Rafe Judkins made a full episode devoted to the White Tower politics that ironically made Moiraine and Swan seem like absolute idiots. I mean, she could have easily gotten out of the trap Leandrin tried to spring in the Hall of the Tower by just having Swan not ask her stupid, direct questions in front of literally everyone.
What is the purpose of your travels?
Forgive me, Mother, I cannot say.
Cannot? Or will not?
Or explaining that she had been traveling for years to find powerful channelers to join the Aes Sedai against the Dark One. And had found some, by the way. You're welcome, ungrateful. Or just at any point, she could have dropped the bomb on having witnessed Leandrin gentle another man without trial in the wilderness with her Red Aja sisters.
It's not him.
The whole scene was bloody absurd, especially considering that it was her, bloody, flaming co-conspirator, who was asking her the flaming questions.
Not a great plan.
None of this makes any sense. And it doesn't make her character look particularly good or empathetic either. Just dumb.
Never go full retard.
Okay, so she's an active protagonist instead of an early guide and protector who is quickly herself swept up in events. What is the big deal? The focus on her overshadows the growth of other crucial characters. The change soaks up a lot of screen time, which should have been devoted to Rand, Mat, Perrin, Egwene, and Nynaeve.
But wait! There's more!
And to make room for episodes 5 and 6, they took out a great many of the powerful and important scenes for her character, like tricking the Drakkar with the fog that most women in the White Tower could not have produced, or driving off the White Cloaks in their lawn with a awesome display of her power, or literally destroying a couple of fists of Trollocs on the way to Shadar Logoth. Or fighting one of the Forsaken at the Eye of the World. Yeah, not going to forget about that either, Amazon. And that doesn't even say anything about the scenes for Rand, Mat, and Perrin that got removed entirely to also make room for that nonsense fan fiction. So instead of seeing the good character establishing scenes from the book, we see her basically murder Master Hightower.
The White Cloaks are right.
Wander casually into a White Cloak patrol when White Cloaks are apparently going around the world killing Aes Sedai. Literally sleeping her way into Shadar Logoth.
Where are we? You've killed us all.
And not worrying too much about finding the boys or Egwene.
I have eyes and ears watching every gate and every wall in the city. If they've arrived, I'll know.
And just taking whichever one of the 5.
And so tomorrow I will take all of you to the Eye, knowing that 3 of you will not return.
Never tell me the odds.
Happens to volunteer.
It's me.
I volunteer as tribute.
Or not quit the production first when it comes to going to the Eye of the World. Oh yeah. And she sicked the Red Aja on Mat.
I need a message delivered to the tower. There is a man that they must find, Mat Cawthon.
And to whom should I send this message?
The Red Aja.
And lies repeatedly despite the 3 oaths.
You forget, girl, that I cannot lie. I thought I might pay Min a visit. I presume she still resides in the city.
Lucia.
Do they know what I am?
No, no one does, thanks to Aes Sedai.
Fuck.
Apparently the fate of the world hangs on one of these kids. And it could be any of them. But she is willing to slowly travel to Tar Valon without ever circling back or trying to pick up their trail. Hell, they could be dead and she would have no flaming idea.
Not a great plan.
At least in the book, she had a reason to suspect that they had all made it out of the city. At least she knew where to find one of them and was fairly sure the others were alive. And she knew that she could find them again if she got close enough. And she devoted her time and resources to accomplishing that. Moiraine's casting of Rosamund Pike and making Moiraine the protagonist is very nearly the original sin of this adaptation. Rosamund Pike was a B-list actress with a few notable roles from a decade ago, with the 2002 James Bond role and roles in the first Jack Reacher movie and Gone Girl. But then, not a whole lot. She attached herself to this project as an EP and a star, presumably to try and reinvigorate her career by putting her in the driver's seat and making her the biggest name in this production. And it doomed the series to be warped around her character, and it undermined the core concept of Robert Jordan's story. A heroic coming-of-age story for a group of young protagonists destined by fate and friendship to save the world. Also, prophecy. Would have been nice to mention that, Amazon. Turning a supporting character, albeit one with major narrative impacts and a lot of fan support, into the actual protagonist of the story meant that we got a Moiraine story transposed onto the events of the main plot, which is a huge problem because Moiraine is not the protagonist. And frankly, Robert Jordan didn't give her enough story in order to become the protagonist, which is why Rafe Judkin is having to so radically depart from the story in order to give her something, literally anything, to do. So there you have it, the foundational problem with the Amazon Prime series, without a single mention of any of those wrong-think ideas that apparently is all us white cloaks care about.
No way!
If you like this discussion, hey, consider subscribing to our channel, getting alerts so you can tune in next time. But thanks for watching, and as always, walk in the light.